9 tried and tested tips to bolster your small business's cybersecurity. According to the Federal Trade Commission, nearly 70% of cybersecurity breaches went undiscovered for months or longer, with 2/3 of cybercrime victims being companies with fewer than 1,000 employees. To avoid suffering crippling losses in a ransomware attack, take key steps today to cyberproof your small business while protecting your technology and locking down access to valuable data. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous. And if you're doing as marvelous as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or let's roll. Today I want to talk to you about 9 proven tips to bolster your small business's security, cybersecurity for that matter. Number 1, hire an expert. I haven't said this enough. You want to hire an expert, right? So if you're trying to bring your cybersecurity to the next level, you want to engage the services of a cybersecurity expert, right? The $300 or $1,000 that you would have paid this person will be worth it. If you're a small business owner, the last thing you want is come Monday morning to work and find a skull or some kind of funny messages on your screen, right? You want to safeguard valuable data. You want to invest in the future of your company. So engage, hire, enlist the services of a cybersecurity expert. Now the expert can do a lot of stuff. He or she can perform something called vulnerability assessment, right? To see what kind of loopholes you have, what kind of technological loopholes you have. The expert can also educate your staff and clients. He or she could also evaluate your vendors, right? And most importantly, which is very important, he or she can provide some guidance on encryption tools, document storage, network monitoring, cyber insurance. Okay, so number 1, hire an expert. Number 2, craft a policy. I'm talking about a good cybersecurity policy. Now, if you have an expert, that expert can help you craft that policy, right? It's very important because your staff members are your first line of defense when it comes to cyber attacks. And it's kind of funny, but they are also your greatest point of vulnerability, right? So they can both protect the company and also be the point of vulnerability. That's kind of ironic, but that's how things are. So you want to be very clear in the policy about staff members' responsibilities and expectations. And the good thing you need to do is that you want to make sure that information is secure. Not only secure, it has to be clear, concise, and precise, right? So when it comes to cybersecurity, and the Federal Trade Commission has said it multiple times, it only takes a single person to make the whole company vulnerable. It just takes a single mistake from a distracted employee to make one very, 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 very costly mistake. And I'm talking here hundreds of thousands of dollars. You just got to read the news to see how many small businesses have been forced to pay the ransom. Of course, a lot of them, the majority, will want to have contacted the FBI, but still, by the time the FBI comes and takes care of the issue, you would be in standby mode, right? So it's better to prevent than to treat. Number 3, train all staff. Once you hire the expert and you, with his or her help, you have crafted a good policy, you want to train all staff. It's very important. You want to cultivate a culture of security. And the thing here is that the way you do this is to have a regular schedule of employee training. I'm talking every 3 months or every 6 months, depending on your business, depending on your industry, right? You want to update staff members about new risks and vulnerabilities, right? The thing here is that you have to make this training mandatory. This is critical. So if a staff member does not attend, you can block his or her access to the network, right? So this is kind of important because if you're trying to, again, as I said earlier, your employees are your greatest point of vulnerability. So and it takes only one. So that one who does want to attend, he or she will not have access to his or her computer. All right. So make sure that the plan that is embedded in the policy covers everything from saving data, running the business, and notifying customers if you experience a breach. Another thing you want to pinpoint during the training is strong passwords, right? You want to require strong passwords. Now, when it comes to the strength of a password, there's gazillions of tips out there on the internet, but at a minimum, if you have a mix of numbers, symbols, and capital and lowercase letters, it's good already. As long as you don't reuse passwords and don't share them on the phone, by email, or in text, you should be fine. Another thing you want to pay attention to bolster your cybersecurity is to limit the number of unsuccessful login attempts, right? Because those login attempts are usually used by hackers to launch password guessing attacks. So if you limit the number of unsuccessful logins, this is a good thing. All right, I'll be right back right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We're still having a conversation today about how to boost your if you're a small business's cybersecurity, and I've given you already three tips, and I have a fourth one coming. But before I do so, please consider subscribing to our channel. Turn on the notification bell if you believe the content we are providing you is great. If you believe this is fantastic content, please consider subscribing to our channel. Turn on the notification bell so you are notified whenever we drop a new show. And we do drop shows every single day. So comment below, share, and like. Number 4, don't overshare online. This is very important, right? We live in a world of social media, forums, people share it all the time, but you want to limit your employees' ability to share all the time, because cyber criminals will use any loopholes to penetrate a network, right? So basically you want to make sure that you don't expose your company and your employees to things like fraud schemes or even blackmail attempts. All right. Number 5, travel smart. Very important. If you travel or your employees are traveling, make sure that you never, and I repeat, never use Wi-Fi hotspots. I'm talking public Wi-Fi hotspots, because this sort of platforms make your communications and internet traffic vulnerable to being intercepted, right? So the thing you can do is you can create a personal hotspot with your phone, right? And you can connect through an LTE and end-to-end encrypted channel. This might cost you a little more, especially if you're overseas, but listen, paying in a few extra dollars, $20 or $30 in data charges is way cheaper than the how much you would pay if you get attacked. All right. Another option you could do is using a VPN, right? So when you travel, be picky about the devices you bring with you, but you can use VPN so that you're able to get into. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and this provides extra security. All right. Number 6, be cautious with email. Right? Because cyber criminals love emails. So if a staff member clicks on a link or opens an attached spreadsheet without thinking, that staff member could just be downloading like malware onto your company's network, right? So you want to basically have strong safeguards, strong risk mitigants around email. So your email policy should be very, very solid. Now, another popular tactic is called BEC. It's business email compromise. So basically, in this, in a BEC attack, you have a hacker impersonates an executive or clients, and what they do is they want the target to send money or sensitive information, right? So what they do is usually they get this sort of emails through public platforms, right? And they just try, or they have hijacked account credentials. So never trust an email you receive. Sometimes it's just better to, go and or call the person you have received the email from and ask them if they had indeed sent you an email. All right. And the thing here is that you want to confirm. Again, if you can't talk to the person over the phone, you need to find other ways to confirm the sender's identity and intent before engaging. All right. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We're still talking about quick ways to empower your staff members and to boost your small business's cybersecurity. Number 7, protect your systems. Now, I've talked about training your employees, right? This is pretty good, but you got to find a way to also protect your system. All right. So you got to run a reputable antivirus products on all personal computers and laptops used for business activities, right? One thing you want to also make sure is that, of course, you don't have to do this, but you need to have an IT team that takes care of that, or a consultant that takes care of that. Occasionally you have software companies that include security upgrades, and they call them security patches in every update they release. So make sure that you install those updates immediately as they are released, because you want to protect your devices, right? You also want to make sure that you are safeguarding your system against malware invasions, right? If there is an existing infection, you want to kick that out of your system. Number 8, avoid password pitfalls. Right now, what is the password pitfalls? I think I already said that before. You want the employees to learn how to use strong password, right? But the thing here is that trying to get into the business of using unique passwords for transactions, for specific events, right? Instead of allowing employees to use the same password, get into those encrypted passwords that are unique for a particular transaction, and after 30 minutes or 1 hour, the password is no longer valid. That will add an extra layer of complexity to your security apparatus, and will help you, fight off, really fight off those hackers. All right, so that the password are very difficult for anyone to guess or even track of. Right? This is very important. Number 9, and the last tip here, do periodic drills. Now, most small businesses and large companies, for that matter, do something called business continuity planning. BCP. Every 3 months, 6 months, or a year, depending on the industry, they will conduct BCP drills. Do the same thing, but for your IT system, right? So twice a year, raise employees' awareness on cybersecurity essentials. Run a drill. See how your system holds up, right? You want to ask employees how they perceive threats. The idea here is to not only test your system to make sure they are state of the art. You also want to make sure that your employees have state of the art knowledge about the cybersecurity threat, right? So, and while you do that, you want to make things as realistic and quote unquote complex as possible. For instance, you can test during the drill, you can test employees' awareness of something called multi-factor authentication, right? So all high consequence systems will require, before a user gets into them, a multi-factor authentication clue. You can test your employees, for example, and see if they can actually remember that, right? Another thing you want to do here is you also want to, and I think the expert that you would have hired at the beginning of this show, as I said, that expert would have sent emails can do some phishing to see if the employees will click on the email. You want to run a real drill, as they do in the military, so that when misfortune strikes, when a real life danger arises, those employees are well trained. They have the proper knowledge to fight off the particular threat. And this is very important for your small business. All right, I will be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Q. We are about to wrap up today's show, and if you just joined us and you were asking what today's conversation was about, it was about how to bolster a business's cybersecurity. Now, this is an important topic because according to the Federal Trade Commission, nearly 70% of cybersecurity breaches went undiscovered for months or longer, with 2/3 of cybercrime victims being companies with fewer than 1,000 employees. So those are small and mid-sized companies. So to avoid suffering crippling losses in a ransomware attack, I've given you 9 key steps that you need to take today to cyberproof your small business while protecting your technology and locking down access to valuable data. What are those 9 tips, or 9 steps, if you will? Hire an expert, craft a policy, train all staff. Don't overshare online. Travel smart. Be cautious with email. Protect your systems. Avoid password pitfalls. Do periodic drills. All right. And before we wrap up this show, I want to give you a call. I want to give a call to action. We like to provide this extra tips at the end of every show to guide our audience members into the right path. And today I want you to think about the next time you log into a business computer. You want to think before clicking. You want to always stick to your own devices, very important. While traveling, make sure that you don't use the Wi-Fi, don't use the public Wi-Fi. You want to, and experts call that keeping up with your digital footprint, so the sites you have visited. You want to connect securely. This is very important. Another thing you want to do here is you want to be comfortable and you want to be comfortable and assured that the transition between mobile and desktop is secure, is encrypted, right? So you want to secure your mobile device. And another thing you want to do here is that keep up with the updates. Folks, if you own a small business or you work for a small business, keep up with the updates. All those patches that software providers release from time to time, you want to keep up with them. You want to keep track of them and use them. All right? I will see you next time, and until then, marvelous.